Hi there. Welcome to I Should Be Writing. This is a podcast for wannabe fiction writers, and I am your host, Mur Lafferty. And I would like to say that despite the 3 previous episodes, this one's going to be clean. No swearing. I felt bad that it just kind of happened because I had one podcast that was kind of a casual conversation with somebody else at a con, and then I was angry about something in the second one, about NaNoWriMo, and then the third one I was just in complete and total despair, so I didn't care. But at least I warned people. If you're new to the show, I talk about writing and all the things that gets in our way when we try to do it. I try to get you knowledgeable about the business side of writing, not so much as in my other podcasts, but just let you know, if you want to be a pro writer, here are some steps that I took. And I am a writer with 9 books out, several novellas, and a couple of nominations, and a couple of award-winning things. And I've been podcasting we're coming up on the 20-year mark in a couple of weeks, which is just mind-blowing, and I feel very old. But yes, podcasting for almost 20 years. So those are my credentials. How are you? As for what I've been up to, I've been thinking about my book over and over again, but getting really bogged down with some other projects that people ask me how I do all the things I do. And I spin a lot of plates, and then I look and see which one's wobbling, and I pay attention to that one, while all the other ones might be starting to fall. So I was finishing a book, which I now have copy edits for, so I have to pay attention to the book again. But, so the podcast didn't get produced. So I've spent several days this week doing that. But we now have podcasts until December, so that's good. But what I've been up to is I have been writing. I started my new book today. And I wrote about 1,100 words, and I'm pretty happy with it, I think. It's too early to start hating myself. Or the book, or the work, I don't know. But I stream this podcast weekly, usually Thursdays. Today's not a Thursday, but usually Thursdays at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. Twitch.tv/MightyMur. And if you want to come and hang out live, that's great. And if you want to listen later on the podcast, that works too. I'm just glad you're here. And I want to say hi to the chat because y'all were so kind to actually show up on a day that I was not supposed to be streaming. Kids Are Asleep is here, and Shauna's here. Jasmine and Shauna renewed their subscriptions. Thank you so much. I didn't even hit the yay button. I don't have the yay button on this overlay. See, I love switching overlays because I like new things. It's a shiny, happy ADHD thing. Only there's so much back-end work to do, such as the yay button, which is just one button on my Stream Deck that makes confetti and applause and yays and all that happen. I can't do that here now. Anyway, I've also started, I totally forgot, I started Rusty's retirement. If you'd like to help out with Rusty's, you can in a moment. I forgot, I've turned it on. Turn it on. There we go. Now it's on, and we're going to plant some stuff. This is the desert layout. Desert layout is more challenging because we have, it's desert, so things get really, things dry out really quickly. And my biggest concern right now is saving up for another watering bot. Oh, I have plenty of money. Okay. So now I've got 2 bots and 1 little plot of land. So yeah, if you want to join, it's !join. And then you can have a little person with your name on it wandering around the farm. And oh, that's right, the bot's asleep. So, exclamation point, Rusty will do nothing. Anyway, Rusty's Retirement, cute farming game. If you join, you can make a little bot of yourself, as you can start to see, and people will walk around, and you can tell them what to do, or they'll just hang out. But it's a very cute idle game that I like very much. And Rusty runs around and builds things that I tell him to, and they pick and they put stuff over here to sell for biofuel, which keeps the robots running, and then they also sell the vegetables for monies. So you have two kinds of monies in this game. And over here are all the people we can invite once we start making more monies. But I don't do many games with Twitch integration, so I was delighted to hear that this had one. Okay, we're going to get back to the actual podcast. See, I'm making notes so I don't leave this in. I'm so smart. 8015. That's how you do 18 and 15 seconds. 8015. Moron. Okay. It's not nice to do that to yourself. Don't yell at yourself, folks. So I have ADHD. I am a very ambitious person. I really like the shiny things. And I am the kind of person that when I see a neat thing, I want to do it. Some things I learn that I cannot. I try to actually put effort into it. And, I've taken drawing classes. Cannot draw. I took violin lessons for a couple of years. Mostly like 2018 to 2022. Not good at that. And a good friend of mine who does pottery and my kid have been talking about the fun pottery things they've done. And I think, ooh, I want to try pottery. I already know how I am with art. So that's just I'm going to admire what other people can do with clay. But this is how I got started podcasting and streaming. On the other hand, a friend said he was interested in podcasting in October of 2004. 2004. Does anybody say it like that? Am I from this world? Okay. In 2004, I heard about podcasting, thought, hey, I want to get a mic and I want to talk into it. And then when I was feeling that the existential dread and unhappiness of 2020, I just decided to start streaming. And I'm still doing both, at least. But I have other ambitions. This is ridiculous. I really wanted to do a show about Baseball, the horror baseball sim that tragically crashed and burned about 1.5 years ago. And I finally had my plan about what I was going to do. I had a logo made in Canva. I was ready for them to come back. And instead of coming back, they announced that everybody had to be laid off and they weren't going to finish the game or continue with the game. Which falls under the Douglas Adams rule of my life, which is if you have a chance to do something cool, and that is meet somebody you've always wanted to meet or try out a new creative thing that you've always wanted to do, don't not do it, because that person could die. As what happened to Douglas Adams. I didn't kill him, and he did not die right after that, but I had one chance to meet him before he died, and I didn't do it. I was too shy. So this is and clearly I need to be reminded of this over and over again, because I was too nervous to come up with a good idea, or what I thought was a good idea, to do a Baseball show. And here's the segue. I remembered that you need to come up with terrible ideas. And once you come up with terrible ideas, you will start developing good ideas. So I'm coming up with 10 terrible ideas this episode. Will I reach 10? Will I keep you interested? I don't know either of those, but if you are bored, play with Rusty. Cypher's here Thank you for the resub, Cypher. It's good to see you. So, when it comes to coming up with ideas, you're not supposed to turn anything down. And it can be anything. These may not all be writing ideas, but I'm going to say them out loud. So the first one is, I have told you guys I have 6 bullies that in my head that I'm writing for, and I decided I was going to write a comic book script with these bullies as characters and see if my kid wanted to draw it. We're not going to be going for like a 24-page comic. We're just going to see if something cool happens. So, the bullies comic is 1. And I wanted to do some sort of fake newscast. I did a video show in 2008 with my friend Jason. We did This Day in Alternate History, and we did it 5 days a week. And we just looked at what happened in history, and then tweaked it a little bit. So that was a lot of fun doing that show. And I've always loved the fake news way of going about things. And I've thought I could continue to do some sort of weird horror newscast. Does not have to be baseball. It can be other horror things, other sports things, there's horror among us. And now let's talk about clowns. So, weird newscast. I have done I did an audio drama in 2007 about zombies in the workplace. It was called The Takeover. And that was a lot of fun. It was so much work. Right now, I'm amazed when I see podcasts come along that have like a writer, a director, a producer, someone doing the actual production. And I'm like, wow, I really am one of those old people that go, back in my day, we didn't need all those people. I did it all. And I hated it because it was about 4 times the length. You had to, like, if you had a 10-minute show, you had to spend 40 minutes doing the production for it. So it was like 4 times as long as the show. That's how much work you had to put into it. So, but knowing that I'm a one-person shop still makes me think I would like to do that again. So, some kind of audio drama. It scares me because that's a lot of people wrangling as well. And I don't know if I've had the spoons for that. But I could also get one of those voice modulators and I'll be all the characters because I'm an excellent actor. I'm so good. Okay, that's 3. That's 3. 4 bad ideas. Number 4 is going to be in the upcoming book, Infinite Archive, we meet another writer. My main character, Mallory, writes sort of true crime mysteries based on the mysteries that she solves. Kind of like Jessica Fletcher kind of thing, only on a space station. But she meets another writer who does fictional noir. And the sleuth is a Venus flytrap. Small spoiler, Mallory is also kind of encouraged to maybe look into writing fiction. Maybe with the aliens that she knows better than most people on Earth. And so in the book, there are excerpts from 2 different books. There's the excerpt from Pruned, a Zesty Ya Boy mystery, which is the Venus flytrap. And there's Rock Bradley, the noir rock alien nice sleuth. And I thought, I think it would be really fun to write full short stories with those characters, which would make me no money at all. And I know that's not what I'm writing for, but it's just funny that I really want to write these stories that I think would never sell, but it might be fun promotion. Or I should just make promo, like fake book covers with Rock Bradley and Zesty, a boy. So we're going to do that. Zesty and Rock. Zesty and Rock short stories. That's 4. I've got 6 to go. Wow, I've run out of steam at 4. No, I need to just actually write down the terrible things in my head, because that's what this is called, this 10 terrible ideas. I have been racking my brain to write something surreal based on something Ursula Vernon said to me, I gotta say, over 10 years ago. It's shameful. So that is my other weird, very weird mystery series about one cop is a turkey, and his old partner who died was a piece of string. So turkey and string will always be an albatross. Ursula was talking about how when she's trying to pitch books to her publisher, and this was back when she was writing only children's books, she would just start brainstorming bizarre. There's this person, there's a hairstylist and a sanitation worker, they fight crime, and one thing she came up with was turkey, a piece of string, they fight crime, and I thought, I want to write that. So turkey and string is still in my head. I've tried to do it in the absolute abstract surreal way. I've tried to write it as people go into a VR experience, but there's a big glitch, and so the NPCs in the VR show up as turkey and string. I'm not happy with any of it, so we'll see if I ever do that again. Along the same lines of things that I've wanted to write and never really got there. One of them is, I want to write I call it Red Shirts meets Hallmark Christmas stories, where the, whatever boyfriend is left in these holiday romances. He's either too corporate or too mean, or dumps her for someone prettier, or whatever. There's usually a guy who's not great, but, not that bad, but the lumberjack at home who teaches you the true meaning of Christmas. That's the real person you need to be around. So I wanted to do those guys kind of getting together and forming, actually existing as a new, can't say it. It's easier to write these things down because I know what shorthand I'm doing. When these characters don't have a story tied up, they become real. And so there are these poor guys who don't know what they did, but they're really corporate, and they lost their love interest, and 2 of them fall in love. What's too bland? Kids are asleep. Oh, the ex from the romance. Yeah, that's the problem. I just remember one of my favorite movies has the ex in his t-shirt and boxers, holding a poinsettia, being dumped outside of his ex's parents' house, and she stole his car to go catch up with the real love of her life. And I'm like, that's Grand Theft Auto. But it's like, I mean, he's not great, but what happened to him? Did he get his car back? Did he press charges? Did he just wonder what it was about him when he was just trying to get a good job? What it was about him that made him, made him so unlovable. Sometimes boyfriends are just like literally dumped in the snow, and that's where we see them. So anyway, the Hallmark movie, Christmas movie, Red Shirts. If you ever read John Scalzi's Red Shirts, it's basically writes the whole novel with the concept that Star Trek is real, except like literally the TV show, there are people on the TV show, the characters don't realize it's real. They don't realize that if you wear a red shirt, you're probably going to die. And John pulls it off better than I can explain it. Yeah, the Bill Pullman guy, Kids Are Asleep. With Sleepless in Seattle, I always thought, like, Bill Pullman was fine. He was fine, you know? But she dumps him because she wants to meet a stranger. It's very weird. It's kind of like, looking at Romeo and Juliet, not as a romance, but in a horny teens do really stupid stuff. That's how I view Romeo and Juliet. All right, I didn't write that down, so Red Shirts. Unfortunately, haven't been able to sell the Christmas movie one. I'm not sure what I'm doing wrong, but my agent has tried to sell it a couple of times, so I think I need a new angle. Or maybe I'll just write it for me and put it out via my podcast or newsletter, whatever. That's 6. That's over the hump, yeah. I'm going to mention something because it hasn't sold and it probably won't sell, and if I write it, it will probably be for my Patreon people. But I have tried to come up with a couple of plots for a 6-week sequel, and I think I have a strong one. And we were told that it's been too long since that book was out to do another one. Which, on one hand, I could just say, excuse me, George R. R. Martin, have you heard of him? On the other hand, I'm not that good or have that kind of following or have that kind of money or bring my publisher that kind of money, really is what we're talking about. But still, in 2012, Paul and Storm wrote a song that George R. R. Martin needs to write faster. And I saw them perform that again this year on the Joko cruise, because nothing has changed since everything they wrote about in that song. Except for maybe I think HBO finally did move past him. So I'm gonna say a 6-week sequel. The problem with talking about a murder mystery series is talking about book 2 will automatically tell you, if you haven't read it, at least who didn't die in book 1 or who wasn't the killer in book 1. But my idea was a couple of I've got my hand wavy mind map DNA sequencing thing that allows people to be cloned. Well, that can be wrapped into a small data packet and, sent just like any other radio wave through space. So they actually send some people back to Earth in order to deal with some of the person that set a whole bunch of things up to where they would fall down. And, I don't want to tell you anymore because I actually think it was kind of a cool concept. Yeah, so 6-week sequel. We got that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I got 3 more to go. 3 more terrible ideas. I was watching KAOS, KAOS, which is phenomenal. There's no season 2 because Netflix likes to make us cry. It does get wrapped up. You can tell it's wrapped up in that, oh boy, things are really going to start moving huge next season. But, there's the players get put in place in the first season. And then by the end of the season, they all know, they have a role in the upcoming conflict. So all that gets established, I'll tell you that. But it still sucks that it's not coming. But it did make me think about how much I love Greek mythology and how I really loved how they, how KAOS brought Greek myths into the modern day. Mythology, all the magic was real, the gods were real, but it's in modern day type worlds. So, you've got your smartphone and you've got your cars and you've got, the priestesses of Hera who have their tongues cut out so that they can better serve her, so they will never tell her secrets. But I had a thought of the gods did so many terrible things in those stories. I just had a thought of, what if you have one person who doesn't believe in the gods and believes that whoever, when they say, oh, well, this woman died because of the gods, this character goes, nuh-uh. And so she goes to find whoever the murderer is who set up this whole god thing in order to get away with things. And I haven't decided whether that would be a modern day telling like KAOS did, which I loved KAOS so much, or if I would do that back in ancient Greek times. And I'm not a historian, and I don't know if I have the patience to write in an era that I'd have to do considerable research on. I'm just going to be honest. I'll check in with chat. Hallmark movies meets Squid Games. Maybe. So you're saying all of the dumped boyfriends get put in a Squid Games kind of thing? I did have a sort of cabin in the woods idea of, well, it wouldn't be cabin in the woods. What? The concept was there is an actual corporation that deals with these errant, escaped boyfriends, and they hunt them down because they should not exist. And actually, it's kind of like Shauna Maguire's fairy tale series, where fairy tales manifest and cause great havoc. So it's the corporation whose job it is to keep that from happening, and make sure all those escaped bad boyfriends are caught. You're better in my humble opinion, but yeah, following and publisher backing is the issue. Yeah, I mean, a lot of things aside, he is an amazing writer. I'm not gonna deny that. His novella Ant Kings lives in my head, free of rent, forever. That story just blew my mind. But yeah, so my Greek myths, skeptic tries to solve the crimes of the gods. That's 8. I gotta do 2 more. I promised you guys 10 bad ideas. Terrible ideas. A couple of these things I've had in my head for a while, so they were kind of easy to come up with. Oh, there's lore, of course. There's my another thing with Ursula about the were-anglerfish male, because the were-anglerfish female is waiting for him to change that so that she can absorb him and take his gonad, because that's what anglerfish do. That's 9. The 10th is always the hardest. Yes, got it. I want to write a psychological thriller. If you're listening to this on the podcast, I've already mentioned this because I talked to my old agent about this. I want to write a psychological thriller based in Stardew Valley. And, I want to put romance in there, second chance romance, and, that's what I want to do. I've really had a lot of fun kind of brainstorming that. So, psychological thriller in Stardew Valley. So yeah, you can either see how I brainstorm ideas, or how much crap is already in my mind that I just haven't done yet. I recommend trying it. If nothing else, you'll at least write down the ideas that have been bing-bonging around in there. And what this also does is, I am an unapologetic TV watcher and TV rewatcher and game player and game continuing to play games over and over again. But I will say, you can see how it influences my work. It's not quite a waste of time when it's just another story. And it's another story that gets in your head. And it will do what it can to affect your work. A lot of these things are based on something else. I mean, Red Shirts meets Hallmark. Those are 2 things that are the ideas. And Skeptic Solves God Crimes is, influenced heavily by KAOS. And the psychological thriller in Stardew, obviously inspired by Stardew Valley. It won't be Stardew Valley. It's what we call file off the identification numbers. So it will be a idyllic little farming town that has some weird secrets, and you inherit your grandparents' farm kind of thing. I remember when Zay Frank did the show That was 2005, was it? I think. If you look, you can find an archive. It's mostly good. I think I need to bookmark my very favorite one where he talks about ideas and how whenever he gets an idea, he tries to do it as soon as possible, because the longer an idea sits in your head, the more you dream about how perfect and wonderful it's going to be, and how when you get it, put it out there, everyone's going to be clapping for you. And you'll also know that when you first start to do something, you kind of suck. So it's hard to get past those first things that suck, which is partly another reason why I'm doing this exercise. But doing that idea, if you can, do it. I mean, he did the weirdest stuff. Like, he wanted to make a sandwich out of the world. So he had to put a piece of bread on the ground and then find out the exact opposite point on the globe, on the world, and find someone else to put a piece of bread there. And then, like, lots of people did it. That's a stupid idea. That's really stupid. But, it was a stupid idea that got a lot of people excited, so why not? Do it. Make a sandwich of the world. But when he did those weird things, when you make stuff, your brain wants to make more. People say, where do your ideas come from? And really the concept is they don't stop, because I'm constantly trying to make the ideas happen. A lot of times I talk myself out of it, and I should not do that. But I do know that if you're feeling blocked in any way, the best thing you can do is just start making other things, because that will just get the gears going, and you'll probably come up with a different solution in your first work. So let me know if you guys have any questions. I'll open it up to the chat. In the meantime, I'm going to end the podcast here, and we'll keep recording for the Patreon. If you are listening to this in the podcast, I always do early episodes for the Fabulous, which is my online community, but I sometimes do extended ones as well. So sometimes they get content that only people in the live stream will see, or in the Fabulous Club. So you can check that out at patreon.com/mightymur or mightymur.substack.com. Everybody's got their own naming recognition. But yeah, if you want to contact me, mightymur@gmail.com. You can see my blog and show notes at murverse.com. You can search for this podcast on any podcatcher in the world and you'll find it. And I've been Mur Lafferty. You can find my books in bookstores. Just search for my name. I got a really Googleable name. If you say nothing else for me, I got that going for me. So I'll see you guys next week. And until then, you should be writing. Thank you for listening to I Should Be Writing, the longest running writing podcast in existence. This episode was made possible by the Fabulous, who support the podcast via Patreon or Substack. Join the Fabulous at patreon.com/mightymur or mightymur.substack.com. Theme music provided by John Anelio, art provided by Numbers Ninja, and podcast hosting provided by Libsyn. This episode is released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 license. You can find all of my books and podcasts at murverse.com.
I should be writing. I should be submitting my next draft, but I'm sitting home watching the doctor. I'm sitting home watching the doctor.